Hello, and welcome to this episode of The Walking Code, where I provide you with the best information out there to help you walk more comfortably, with more confidence, and with less impact on your joints. This is a segment from a video reconciling many of the arguments which have been made against heel strike walking with what I have been saying, which is heel strike walking is the normal and preferred way for humans to walk in most situations. The argument was made that heel strike could not have evolved in early man because heel strike would not be adaptable to rough or uneven terrain, such as in forest or jungles with rocks, prickly vegetation, and insects. The need to walk quietly to avoid predators was also stated as a reason why heel strike could not have been developed. I will give my common sense take on why none of these issues would have prevented the evolution of heel strike. Before I state my logical case, I will also point out that we already know early humans walked with a heel-to-toe gait. Scientists know from footprints found preserved in volcanic ash in Lotoli, Tanzania, that ancient hominins practiced heel-to-toe walking as early as 3.6 million years ago. This is the best I could come up with in terms of simulating a Paleolithic environment. You can see the ground is covered with unevenly cut wood shards, which might simulate walking in a forest or a jungle, and the flora that you might encounter on the ground as you're walking. And as I walk with a heel placement, you can tell there's no inherent disadvantage in placing on the heel with this sort of ground cover. The skin on my heel is no different than the skin on the rest of my foot, and it places and is just as sensitive as the rest of my foot. Also, the calcaneus bone is the largest and most sturdy bone in the foot, so it would seem logical that that bone is very well adapted to placing on objects when you're walking. There is also a genetically evolved fat pad underneath the calcaneus bone. Right here, there is a significant fat pad that has evolved to cushion the calcaneus bone as we walk. And so I can see no reason why a Paleolithic man walking through a forest or a jungle would not be able to place comfortably on his heel. This isn't to say that if somebody's walking incorrectly, that heel strike could cause some discomfort. When I place normally on the heel, you place the heel and you roll gradually forward, changing your weight to the foot. It is not falling onto the foot under the force of gravity. If people walk by leaning forward and pushing like this, which is a common mistake that people make, then you are forcing the heel into the ground, and that might be painful if you were to step on a rock, pebble, or shard of wood like this. But when we walk normally with a heel strike, we are placing the foot and gradually changing the weight. When I say gradually, I mean that we are controlling it using our lower abdominal muscles. And the speed that the foot lowers is going to be proportional to the speed that I contract my lower abdominal muscles to move my pelvis forward. Demonstrating here, when I place my heel, I'm going to tuck my lower abdominal muscles, which is going to tuck the pelvis, and that tucking of the pelvis is going to lower the forefoot to the ground. You can practice this. Place your heel down and then tuck your pelvis on that side, and you will see how your foot lowers to the ground. At the same time, when we walk properly, I'm using my upper abdominal rotation to aid in the forward progression of the whole body. And that's how I control the weight change. When somebody refers to a foot slap going down to the ground, that is mischaracterizing normal walking technique. There is nothing slapping about the heel placement when you place and roll and place and roll, because I'm controlling that movement with my lower abdominal muscles. The slap only occurs if we're leaning forward and walking like this. And in that situation, there is a slap, but that is not the fault of heel striking. That is the fault of improper walking technique. The beauty of the design of the human body as it has evolved is that we are adapted to walk in a variety of different manners. And so we can place on the heel when appropriate, we can place on the midfoot when appropriate, and we can place on the forefoot when appropriate. If we were in a jungle and I am walking around these branches here, I am heel striking as I walk on the flat part of the ground, and when I come upon a branch, we naturally can change our gait pattern such that I am not swinging forward. I'm bringing myself to a balanced position and then elevating the foot to place it on the branch and step over it. Or I can elevate the whole leg and step over it in this fashion. There are so many different ways that we can walk because of the design of the human body that we can place however we want at any point in time and move around effectively in any environment. So the idea that heel strike walking is normal for locomotion doesn't mean that we place on the heel all the time in all environments. If I'm walking around these branches, and let's say there were large logs and branches all over the place, I'm not walking in this circumstance for speed. I'm walking in it for caution and to be able to place myself safely in the environment. So I may be placing my foot down gently on the forefoot here or on the midfoot there. But when we need to start speeding up, that's when we are going to transition to the heel naturally. And we can vary our gait depending on the environment. As to the point of dangerous animals and predators being around and the noise issue, obviously, if I'm in an environment where I think there may be a predator around, then we are also not walking for speed and efficiency. We are walking for the purpose of stealth, in which case I'm going to be flexing my knees and walking around. And in this situation, I will be placing on the midfoot or the forefoot as I go because I'm trying to be very stealthy and quiet. But when I need to speed up, that is when I'm going to begin to place the forefoot, or sorry, the heel. Heel strike walking is an efficient means of gait because we can move faster with heel strike walking, and we also use less energy with heel strike walking. Studies have shown this consistently that over the same length of ground, we use less energy with heel strike walking than we do with forefoot or mid strike walking. And that is because we are taking advantage of gravity during the rolling process to help move the body forward. Now, don't mistake me, I did not say we are falling with gravity. That's another mischaracterization of people who don't walk correctly. We are using our abdominal core muscles and our pelvic muscles to change weight and move forward in cooperation with gravity when we are heel striking. That makes the movement much more efficient. If you watch me walk, I'm going to transition from midfoot strike to heel strike with no change in energy, and you can see how just changing to the heel strike and the roll speeds up the motion significantly without adding any extra energy expenditure to the movement. During the Paleolithic era, as humans evolved, much of the world was not only forest and jungle, but was large swaths of grasslands and savannas, including in Africa, where the key issue was not hiding in a forest, but it was walking long distances to search for food. In that sort of circumstance, the most important aspect of survival is being able to cross long distances, hundreds of miles potentially in short periods of time, searching for new herds of animals. In that type of environment, the most paramount issue for survival is going to be the ability to travel long distances using the least amount of caloric expenditure. That requires a heel strike gait. I'm going to use this scene here to represent a grassland and my ability to traverse that grassland with maximum speed and efficiency. What I'm going to do is walk across this distance using a forefoot strike at maximal speed, and then I'm going to do the same with a heel strike at maximal speed, and I'm going to juxtapose these two images or videos one on top of the other so you can see the difference in speed compared directly. So there you can see a comparison between forefoot strike and heel strike in terms of speed and efficiency. It's that efficiency that is so important to survival for Paleolithic man.